Speaker, please.
Paul Couchman, South East Region, second in Composite A. I'm going to concentrate on our original motion's central theme, what Labour councils could be doing to fight the cuts. We're often told there's no choice, we have to make cuts. This argument's been used by Labour councils across the country to justify continued implementation of austerity. Over 10 million people voted for Labour in the 2017 and 2019 general elections, more than at any time since 2001. Millions of people prepared to back Jeremy Corbyn's radical manifesto, including substantial increases in public spending. That support could be remobilised now, with Labour councils in the front line. Labour leads around 100 local councils with a combined spending power greater than the state budgets of a dozen EU countries. The 2019 manifesto pledges included many of the things we're discussing at this conference today, such as restoring public sector pay, bringing services back in-house, introducing a fire safety fund, investing in education, rape crisis and domestic abuse services, investing in transport and green energy, building council housing and more. Local councils have the legal powers to not only refuse to make cuts, but to implement these reforms now. The Times newspaper reported last year that local authorities were sitting on 21.8 billion of non-ring-fenced reserves, 11 billion more than at the start of the decade. We accept that councils using reserves and selective borrowing to avoid making cuts would just be buying time. There'll have to be a showdown with central government, so it must be linked to a mass campaigning strategy. Councillors can support the campaign by arguing for budgets that meet the needs of their local communities and linking up with other councils to demand that the government makes up any shortfall. This is not a new tactic. In 1984, the Socialist Labour Council in Liverpool forced Margaret Thatcher's Tories to concede extra resources worth up to £60 million. The homes and schools and leisure centres built by the council still stand as a testimony to that struggle. Those brave 47 Labour councillors were eventually removed from office by unelected commissioners, not like the Liverpool Council now, facing allegations of corruption, fraud and intimidation, but because they stood up and fought back on behalf of the people of Liverpool and were not backed up by other Labour councils or by the Labour Party leadership. What has been made clear by COVID is that the question is not, is the money there, but how can a campaign be won for it? Speaker after speaker today have spoken about UNISON members having to strike, demonstrate, protest against Labour councils. No cuts budgets would allow us all to stand together against Tory austerity. If councillors refuse to make a stand, even when it's been shown that there are many safe, legal avenues to allow them to refuse to make cuts, then they should step aside. There are plenty of good trade unionists, socialists and community campaigners who would be prepared to take their place. Our message is a simple one and long overdue. No more support from UNISON to Labour councillors who carry out Tory cuts. Please support this composite.
Thank you. Can I get the next delegate, please?